Hello and welcome to another episode of TrekHammer, where we're looking at the latest episode of Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. Now this one, I was a little wary about going in because unfortunately it got slightly spoiled about what the plot was about before I got to see it. It's one of those things. Paramount has this strange thing where they decide to push what's going to be happening in the next episode in order to try and entice people to watch it, but they do it without warning. So you don't get to decide whether you want to have an idea of what's going to happen or not. You just get fed this stuff. And it kind of annoys me because I want to go in with no expectations. But unfortunately that didn't happen this time, so I was worried because Spock being split with his Vulcan half being removed, that goes against how I see Spock as a character. Thankfully it wasn't bad. I'm going to say that straight up, it wasn't bad. Spock was very well portrayed. Ethan Peck is doing a very, very good job. He's not Leonard Nimoy, but he's doing a very, very good job. And him getting to do the more emotional side and show off the humour of the character and things like that, that was quite good. I really enjoyed that. His fiancée T'Pring, she's been portrayed really well. I like this. And I also like how they're starting to really emphasise how much their relationship is quite fraught. Because when we first met her back in the original series, and it was one episode, and then she divorced him, essentially, it was like, who's this? Why are we supposed to be caring? We've never met her before. It doesn't seem to be part of Spock's character. She doesn't seem to be important. Why is this an issue? You know, like, saying, oh, I've lost my favourite hat. Oh no. Well, you've never mentioned your favourite hat before, so why should we care that you've lost it? It's that kind of thing. I know a person's different to a hat, of course, but it comes on the same level when you've never been introduced to the character. So, actually having her as part of the show and having seen how much Spock is trying to sacrifice in order to make the relationship work, and how much she is clearly trying to sacrifice to make the relationship work as well, that is good, and it makes it more important what's actually happening. So the inevitable split that we already know is going to happen, it's adding some context that's really well needed. So I like that. I also like that she's not unhappy with Spock for having a human side or for having gone through all of this weird stuff that happens whenever she seems to be on the ship with him, but the fact that he didn't tell her, he didn't trust her enough to actually explain what was going on and let her work with him to solve it. That was great, because it takes her from being a bit of a nasty bitch in the original version, in the original series, and makes her a rounded character whose motivation for leaving this guy we actually now understand, because he has held back so much and she doesn't feel like she's an important part of his life. That kind of thing. So I like that. That was a great aspect. What I don't like is the way that the Vulcans are being portrayed as racist all the time. We know that in the original series, there weren't many Vulcans in Starfleet. It tended to be a human thing. The Vulcans didn't bother. We saw in Enterprise that the Vulcans weren't so much racist as standoffish and rather scared of what humans could do, because they'd gone from almost annihilating themselves to essentially leaders of an interstellar federation almost, and later on, pretty much leaders of the Interstellar Federation, all in a space of only a few decades. And there's this great explanation, like, we've seen this sort of aggression from Klingons and things like that. So there's a reason for Vulcans to be quite wary about giving humans technology and helping them advance so much. But by the time of the original series, a lot of that should have gone, because the humans have proved themselves time and time again that they're not the aggressive warmongers like the Klingons are. They're diplomats, essentially. So having now taken that back and brought in the Abrams version, where they're kind of racist, I don't like that. They see humanity as a disability in Vulcans and things like that. Like, no. It's clear from this very episode that not all Vulcans are the standoffish, stoic, super logical people. Because the woman, T'Pring's mother, is racist, which is not logical, and T'Pring's father is quite agreeable around humans and actually kind of likes them. It's very interesting, which also emphasizes another thing. Why would a family who don't really get on with the idea of humans, like the mother doesn't, agree to letting their daughter marry a half-human, half-Vulcan? Well, because the father is actually quite interested in humans. He's another one like Sarek. Sarek's not alone anymore. He's not this outlier. There are others who think like him. That was great. But making the Vulcans racist all the time, think, no, come on. Come on. Star Trek's better than that. Seriously, it's better than that. We don't need to be beating this drum again by changing completely a character of a race. It's one of those things that's been stuck with us since Abrams' Trek, where, yeah, okay, the way it was presented there was like a one-shot thing with the Vulcan Science Academy, and that comes back in this as well. There's very much the Vulcan Science Academy, very much the Abrams version of them, again, and it's used partly to emphasize Chapel's personality and build her up, and it's partly used to emphasize that it's not just Spock that's having this effect or having this experience, it's others as well. But it doesn't work for the species. The Vulcans were better than that in the original series, and they should be better than that here. But sticking with the Nurse Chapel character, I found that her main thing through the sequence, going and finding these weird aliens, very interesting, because these people, they feel more like the Q, and that was very interesting to me. I'm pretty sure they're not the Q, they're like a proto-Q, but it's very interesting. They exist outside of time, they've got all this weird power, they've produced this thing, this portal, and no one had noticed it before, so I'm assuming that it wasn't there before, otherwise I think someone would have noticed, but it was very interesting. We got an interesting first contact situation. We got a very interesting relationship between how the aliens view the world and how the humans do. And I liked that. That was something that I think should have been explored more, perhaps in a complete episode of its own, because it would have been very interesting. But the idea of a Q-like entity in the original series setting that's not playing about as some kind of ancient Greek deity, like always seemed to happen every time the original crew saw them, that was interesting to me. And also, they're not Trevain, so it's a different species. Several species have now got to this near deity level of being, which is interesting. It's quite compelling. I would like to see more. I don't know whether we will. And that's... I like the standalone episodes thing. I've always liked that. Star Trek works really well as a standalone episode, but it's in cases like this where I would love to see them come back to that, but because it's a standalone episode, perhaps we won't, and that's it's unfortunate. But overall, it's a good episode. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. I would say on a warp factor scale, 7, maybe. Yeah, let's go for a warp factor 7, because yeah, it was alright. I enjoyed it. Wouldn't mind seeing a bit more about some of the ideas in it. And overall, pretty good. Okay, thank you so much for joining me. I'd like to hear your comments about this in the comment section below. Do you agree with my assessment? Do you like the episode? Do you not like it? Why is that? I'd love to hear from you. So do leave a comment in the comments box down below. Yeah. And one of those too. But until next time, thank you so much for joining me. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you out there. Happy trekking. If you like the show, please consider supporting me on Patreon. It really does help create future videos. That's patreon.com/Zoe Kirk Robinson. And I've got an extra special thanks going out to Chief89, Sam Yates, Retro Mickey82, Mo Henry, and George Botterini. Thank you so much, guys.